the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, also known as the newly agreed upon CBA deal. Make no mistake about it, folks. Every time the owners came to the table and said, fine, we'll increase the salary cap to this, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, fine, we'll pay for your housing again, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, shoot, we really don't want to come up off this 15% number, but you know what? We'll move a little bit. You can thank CC.
What happened next caught Aya Wilson completely off guard. For the past 2 years, many people convinced themselves the Caitlin Clark controversy was overblown. The excitement was created by the media. The numbers would eventually decline. And that the league already had established stars before Clark's arrival who could carry it forward without all this attention. Even after the WNBA approved the biggest collective bargaining agreement in professional women's basketball history, they never saw this coming. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers still haven't subscribed. It's completely free, takes only a second, and truly means a lot to us. Have you subscribed yet? Awesome. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the video.
A'ja Wilson and all her Glazers could give a big thank you to Caitlin Clark for her getting paid. Ever since the league came to an agreement, all we've been hearing about is how A'ja Wilson is about to sign this historic Supermax deal like she just did it all on her own. No, you could thank Caitlin Clark for revolutionizing the game so you could get paid. We don't care how many MVPs and championships A'ja won or how she was already known. It doesn't matter. She didn't change the dynamic of the league for the players that get paid like.
Everything changed when the salary cap jumped from $1.5 million to $7 million. The average player salary climbed from roughly $120,000 to more than $600,000, while the minimum salary rose above $300,000. These are the kinds of numbers veteran players had been fighting to achieve since long before Caitlin Clark was in high school. Real, game-changing money. The first figure everyone noticed was Clark's salary rising from $78,066 in 2025 to $530,000 in 2026. That's when everything erupted.
For example, 2024 Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark, who made $78,066 in 2025, is poised to see her salary jump to $530,000 in 2026. So this year, she is about to jump to that salary, okay? Now, the other jump, the new provision would also be applicable to younger stars such as Aaliyah Boston, who is max eligible in 2026, and Paige Beckers, who is max eligible in...
Here's what actually happened. Everyone around women's basketball knew a negotiation between the WNBA and the Players Association was approaching, and it stretched across 17 months. The previous CBA belonged to a different era, built for a league struggling to stay relevant, not one securing broadcast rights deals that would have seemed impossible just 5 years earlier, filling arenas that had gone years without sellouts, and breaking viewership records. At the center of that growth was one player, influencing every major metric and every executive meeting where the league was finally commanding serious attention.
Was because of Caitlin Clark's impact. All of the numbers and the metrics that the players could point to. Oh, do you see these ratings? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Oh, do you see this attendance? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Do you see the social media impressions? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. This is called the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, and it will go down.
So when the new CBA was introduced in March 2026, it included a provision that no one wanted to officially name after any individual. Instead, it was called the Epic Clause, a fast-track compensation system for players who significantly change the league's financial outlook before their rookie contract expires, described as exceptional performance on a first contract. The official language never mentions Caitlin Clark by name, but it didn't need to. Everyone in women's basketball knew exactly who the provision was designed around. Through the epic provision, the WNBA quietly acknowledged on paper that not every player fits the same standard. Some players require their own set of rules.
So this WNBA collective bargaining agreement will fast-track the ability for players on a rookie-scale contract to make maximum and supermax salaries, sources told ESPN. The new provision, called EPIC, Exceptional Performance on Initial Contract, allows players to renegotiate their 4-year salary and earn the standard max that year if they were previously an all-WNBA first team or second team, or the supermax if they won.
The numbers are what tell the story without leaving anything out, so let's look at them. Caitlin Clark, the player who packed opposing arenas that hadn't seen sellout crowds in nearly a decade, helped the WNBA average more than 1 million viewers per game for the first time since 2008. In 2025, the player whose name on the schedule boosted TV ratings more than the rest of the league combined earned just $78,066. Around $78,000 is what many mid-level paralegals make, or what an entry-level marketing coordinator earns working behind a desk in a city few people visit. It's nowhere near the starting salary of a rookie in Major League Baseball, the NBA, or the NFL. Meanwhile, Clark was selling jerseys, setting assist records, and bringing more cameras to women's basketball than it had seen in years. What she accomplished was truly unprecedented for the league, yet the paycheck she received wouldn't even cover 2 months of rent in a respectable Indianapolis apartment. That wasn't a salary, it was a gamble that the league's most valuable asset wouldn't do the math. She did, and so did everyone else in the sports world. The new CBA ultimately became the league's long overdue public acknowledgement that it had no choice but to respond.
What has now happened is, because of the quote-unquote epic rule, I'm going to call it the Caitlin rule, because let's be real, she was the first person to have reached this. Whether it be it's Caitlin, Aaliyah, and Paige are all eligible. I'm just going to call it the Caitlin rule. Just like the old Rose rule in the NBA, we're going to call it the Caitlin rule. So, ironically, if Caitlin goes and wins MVP this year, she's actually eligible for the Super Bowl.
By 2026, that was no longer the situation. Clark's salary jumped more than 500% to $530,000, nearly 6 times what she earned the previous season. But before giving the league too much credit for finally making changes, remember that $530,000 is still one of the biggest bargains in professional team sports. In 2025 alone, Clark earned $16. $1 million through salary, endorsements, public appearances, speaking engagements, and business deals with brands like Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, Wilson, and HY. She ranked as the world's 6th highest paid female athlete, yet the WNBA paid her less than half of 1% of her total earnings that year, even as her market value reached new heights. The league was getting franchise-level impact at a cost that would make any business professor question the math. The increase to $530,000 is real, and it's certainly deserved, but even that figure falls far short of Clark's actual value to sponsors, television networks, and every arena that fills up the moment her name appears on the visiting schedule. The raise is still far from equal to her impact, and at the very least, it helps the league avoid further embarrassment.
The team is structured, in order for this team to remain intact, Sophie would have to be willing to take a league minimum kind of deal, which is around $300,000, and I don't see that happening. Okay, and I believe also people are going to be shocked how much money Lexi Hull is about to be offered, because I think she's going to get offered $600,000 to $700,000 by somebody. And that is going to greatly complicate things.
But this is where the story starts to feel more like a chess match than a celebration. Clark's salary didn't jump from $78,000 to $530,000 out of nowhere. It comes out of the team's salary cap. Under the new CBA, the WNBA salary cap rises to $7 million, and the Indiana Fever must use that budget to build a complete roster, not just pay Clark. Every player, from the starters to the end of the bench, has to fit within that $7 million limit. Before contract extensions, max deals, and the offseason decisions that will shape Indiana's future around Clark, her current contract already accounts for more than 7% of the cap. When several other core players become eligible for new deals at the same time and your franchise star finally earns fair compensation, there's a name for what happens to the salary cap: a squeeze. And the Fever are about to experience every bit of it.
Wish they would have had Kelsey Mitchell on here. Because after last season, I mean, look, Kelsey finished what? 3rd or 4th in the MVP voting? This is her contract to make as much money as she possibly can, I believe, in this league. And come next year, because I don't think that the Fever are going to be able to keep her next season. And one could argue, depending on how much you covet depth on a team, like how deep do you want your team to be? I think one could argue against re-signing Kelsey Mitchell.
Kelsey Mitchell rarely gets the recognition she deserves from the national media, so let's talk about her. She's one of the league's most dangerous scoring guards and the Indiana Fever's second-best player, but the new CBA has made her next contract much more expensive. Before the 2025 season, Mitchell entered free agency, and Indiana used the core designation to keep her on a one-year deal. Under the new CBA, her salary rises to $1 per million, a supermax contract that makes sense if the Fever choose the most practical short-term path in 2026. That also represents 20% of Indiana's $7 million salary cap for one player who isn't Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston is fully eligible for a new deal this offseason as well, while Clark can qualify for a 3-year maximum contract worth $1. $3 million in 2027 under the Epic Clause, followed by a $1. $7 million Supermax extension in 2028. Think about those numbers for a moment. $1. $3 million for Clark, $1. $4 million for Boston, and $1. $4 million for Mitchell. Those 3 contracts alone would consume more than half of Indiana's entire salary cap before filling out the forward rotation, signing a backup point guard, or building the depth that separates good teams from championship contenders. That's the financial reality the Fever front office is now working through, and it's exactly what a historic salary increase looks like under a $7 million cap. This kind of salary cap squeeze is nothing new in professional sports. Every major league has faced it whenever a franchise player becomes worth more than almost anyone else on the roster. You build around a superstar, identify the centerpiece, and give that player the raise every financial metric says they've earned through fan interest and revenue. Then reality sets in because the salary cap can't keep everyone at full market value at the same time. The supporting cast starts to shrink, role players earn less, and valuable depth gradually disappears as each offseason brings another difficult contract decision. A team that once won with a deep, talented roster can suddenly look much thinner. Clark deserves the raise, and the cap squeeze is coming. Those two facts aren't contradictory. They're simply different parts of the same story. Then there's Aya Wilson, whose financial standing is often left out of major conversations about the WNBA. She's a 3-time MVP, an Olympic gold medalist, a WNBA champion, and one of the most accomplished players in league history. Yet over the past 2 years, she has watched Clark reshape the business side of women's basketball while securing the level of commercial partnerships, national attention, and financial success that Wilson, despite all her achievements, has never reached off the court. It was difficult to overlook the frustration when Sportico released its 2025 list of the highest-paid athletes, with Clark appearing at $16. $1 million while Wilson wasn't included. Social media messages that are cryptic enough to convey everything without really saying anything. Interview responses that have just enough edge to let every journalist in the room know precisely what was left unsaid. Everyone who watched Wilson's months-long rants about his delayed accomplishment and lack of recognition knew exactly who he was talking about. For years, she has been one of this league's most vocal supporters of wage parity. Now that the new CBA, which she and all the veterans worked so hard to get, has arrived, the most notable news is that a player with only 2 years of professional experience has become the most paid player in league history. It is so difficult to digest that with grace still, this is the reality the league's old guard will eventually have to accept. It's completely true, even if few people are comfortable saying it because it can sound harsh. The new CBA doesn't distribute money based on longevity, loyalty, or the number of MVP trophies someone has earned. It rewards market impact. The Epic Clause exists because certain players dramatically increase the league's value for advertisers, broadcasters, and casual fans who had never watched a WNBA game before. A traditional rookie contract was never built to account for that kind of influence. Aya Wilson has dominated this league for years. She's an outstanding player and one of the greatest of all time. But simply being on the schedule has never led to a new media rights deal, pushed a Tuesday night regular season game past 1 million viewers, or consistently sold out opposing arenas. Those are things Clark has regularly done. This isn't a debate over who is the better basketball player. It's a measure of economic impact. The WNBA, like any rapidly growing league, rewards economic impact before almost anything else. The league was built by its longtime stars, and Caitlin Clark is helping generate a new level of revenue from that foundation. Both statements can be true, but only one of them is driving the league's new pay structure. Looking ahead, the next 3 years paint a clear picture. In 2026, Clark earns $530,000, a legitimate contract that still remains one of the biggest bargains in professional women's sports. Even at that amount, any league claiming to fully compensate players based on their value would still have room to explain the gap. In 2027, she's eligible for a 3-year maximum contract worth $3 million. If the momentum continues from the 2024 WNBA draft, when 2.4 million viewers tuned in to watch her selection and women's basketball reached a new level of national attention, then 2028 brings a $7 million Supermax deal that will dominate headlines. Every step up the salary ladder is likely to spark another wave of discussion across the league. Veterans who spent years earning far less will watch a player with only a few seasons of experience surpass career earnings many never reached. Some reactions will be measured, while others won't be. That's understandable because Clark's rise isn't the result of generosity from a league that suddenly changed its values. It's a reflection of one player's extraordinary financial impact on the league, an acknowledgement written into a collective bargaining agreement negotiated over 17 months. Aya Wilson has every reason to feel frustrated. Veteran players have every right to question how the money is being distributed, and fans can continue debating what determines a player's true value in a sport that's still defining its financial future. Those conversations are fair and worth having. What is no longer up for debate, though, is Caitlin Clark's value to this league. It's now reflected in the numbers. In a league where the entire salary cap was just $5 million a year earlier, Clark's salary has climbed to $530,000 and is on track to reach $7 million. The WNBA that once paid its biggest star little more than a paralegal salary has officially become a league that's finally beginning to recognize her impact, even if doing so comes at a much higher cost. Everyone else will either have to adjust to that new reality or continue watching those numbers grow. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.